Social media, Instagram posts, Facebook likes. Now more than ever, the customer-company relationship is changing so dramatically, it's hardly recognizable. One of the things that we see quite often in the space of customer service is expectations, needs, desires, and how we fill those are constantly changing. It used to be that companies had all the power. What widget, what style, what size, what features, what colors, how things were purchased, when they were shipped, how a customer could return them. It was a very lopsided relationship where customers actually didn't have almost any power other than the ultimate decision of whether to buy or not buy. Today, it's completely changed. It's fully righted itself, if not tipping dramatically to the other side.
There are different tiers of customer experience. And so when you think about how we move from the outside in, which is the center of this really well done graphic, marketing is the thing that touches all of us in theory. And those are the folks that aren't quite yet your customers and the folks that are. That next layer is sales, and inherently they're your customers because you sold something to them, and 100% of your customers end up going through that. But there's this little slice of the pie. Customer service. This is the area where you have the most opportunity to affect your overall customer experience. Now, when we define customer service, we need to kind of buttress it a little bit. So this starts in the immediate engagement right after sales. So somebody sold you the cell phone, now you got to figure out how to work it. That's where we're going to begin this process.
Interesting question. Is our customer service getting worse? Or is the bar just rising? And as we said at the beginning, you are the one actually raising that bar. How many of you in the last week have paid your train fare or reserved a parking space on a mobile app? Ordered your coffee, went in, picked it up, didn't even have to talk to anybody? Exactly. Why did you do that? Everybody in this room is doing a multitude of things that you see on this screen. You're ordering a new prescription. You're buying airline tickets. You're ordering your groceries and having them delivered. How many of you would prefer to do these things through an 800 number? Yeah, I set you up for that, right? For sure. Why did you even laugh? Because the last thing that you want to do necessarily is engage with a company until you want to. By 2020, 450 billion transactions per day will be taking place on the internet. That's huge. When I asked you guys if you wanted to pick up the phone and call and have somebody engage with you, or if you just wanted to do it yourself, you laughed. Again, we are proof positive of what's going on in the industry today. Now, how does that interaction feel for you? Sometimes it's awesome. You're perfectly satisfied. Depends on what your needs were and depends on what your expectations were. Other times you're just neutral. Other times you're incredibly frustrated or even sad that you can't get what you want. And sometimes, to Matt's point, you're ready to leave the company because you're so angry that things didn't work out. What level of dissatisfaction or inconvenience or what amount of effort are your customers willing to put in or not before they decide to leave?
Pretty often when we talk about customer service, it's as if it's one thing in one instance, and really it's not. It's something that happens over a period of time. So as those interactions take place along the way, we can do litmus tests and test and see how our customers are feeling about us. But in the end, when we talk about that overall customer service experience, it's the lifetime of interactions that someone has with our service organization that will most greatly affect how they experience us as a company. Back to that cartoon, and I know you didn't come here for a behavioral psychology lesson, but you're getting one for free.
Exactly.
Those guys in the cartoon are actually talking about something that is natural to all of us as humans, and that's the ability for us to be influenced. See, all of us have expectations. We carry them around. Sometimes we express them openly, sometimes we don't. When our expectations are met, something begins to happen inside us. What it tells me is that I expect the coffee to be waiting for me when I get there, And when I show up and it is, that becomes a new norm. And when enough of those new norms happen, they lead to a set of experiences. And now anything that doesn't happen, right? I ordered it online and why isn't my coffee on the counter? That will fall short of my expectations. I want you to think about back when you used to pay to ship stuff to you. Right? The first somebody came along and said, hey, if you're willing to wait a week, I'll send it to you for free. We didn't realize that we wanted it, but somebody came along. They were a disruptor. They offered us free shipping when we used to pay for it. Through doing that, they've enhanced expectations. They've disrupted our customer experience. And here's what happens. They show up. Those enhanced expectations begin leading to, or those enhanced experiences begin leading to raised expectations. Right? Now, why on earth would I ever pay for shipping again? And that establishes a new norm. So there's a formula for figuring this stuff out, an equation on how we can go and actually utilize this to our advantage. It's going to go along how we can keep up with those raised expectations by focusing on our service organization. But it's important that we keep this in mind, that while those experiences happen linearly over time, they're because of expectations that are increasing. What someone expects from your business a year from now will not be adequate compared to what you have today. Okay, so this gets a little less nerdy, but only because we had to work really hard on some data science for you. So before we get into that equation, we're going to talk about the value of keeping that evolving and disruptive customer service experience going. And when I said less nerdy, I meant like we found an actual fun-looking data scientist. His name is Esteban Kolsky, and remarkably, he is really important in the customer service space. See, he spent a lifetime doing research in this area, and there's a few key points that he delivers to us that tells us why focusing on service has value to us. First, he does this study as part of a Constellation Research Group. They go and survey tens of thousands of customers, and out of that data, what they find out is only one out of every 26 customers that leave an organization will actually signal to you that they're dissatisfied. The other 25 just go. So our need to keep up with what's happening with those 25 folks without them running around with a big billboard on is really important. Second, he goes and works with SAP. Looks at like 75,000 businesses worth of data. And what he uncovers is something that I think is so well ingrained in us in business people, this idea that it's 6 to 7 times more expensive to acquire a new customer than it is to retain one. It's so ingrained in us, it's to the point that I don't think we even think about it or do much about it anymore. Customer service, we've long talked about it as like it's the thing, right? As though it is the thing we go and affect, and it's not. It is an output. And it's an output of two very manageable components. The first is direct employee engagement. The folks that you have that are out serving your customers. Statistically speaking, Calidus tells us that companies that have high degrees of customer service satisfaction have 1.5 times more engaged employees than do customer service laggards. Second is customer effort. Harvard goes and does, as part of the HBR review, they spent 10 years going and surveying tens of thousands of consumers like you and I. And what they find are two remarkable statistics. One is 94% of us that would describe our interaction as low effort would purchase again. Two, in that 94%, 88% of them are willing to pay more the next time to do it. This is an investment that will continue to pay for itself. When we talk about raising employee engagement, we're talking about affecting things like your culture and how you hire, how you train and onboard people, and what it looks like when you organize them. And when we talk about lowering customer effort, we're talking about things like inspired automation, radical self-service, knowledge management, and being flexible in the channels that you offer. This formula is simple, This is an easy equation, and I think it is something that we carry with us. Just taking it out of here is going to give you something to go in effect. Superior customer service continues to exist and propagate the more you raise direct employee engagement and reduce customer effort.
So let's take a look at the customer journey here. As we said, all of us are constantly doing things. We have a need. We want to buy something. We want to return something. We want to update something. So we go online on our phone, on our tablets, or on our computers to do that ourselves, right? This is the basic stuff, the online applications. This is self-service. This is your customers taking care of their own needs. And mostly they're going to be satisfied with that depending on what you have enabled them to be able to do. There comes a time when our customers either need to or want to engage with us. And that's when, for the sake of this conversation, let's just talk about it like we're on the phone, a CSR. So our customers decide that they need or want to engage with us. This is our moment now where we can take that customer service to the next level. Can I? Can I speaks to ability. So the first thing that happens is when somebody gets on the phone with our people, does our customer service rep have the ability to meet the needs of the person on the phone? And that has to do with basic training. It has to do with tools. It has to do with systems. How many of you have been on the phone and you're talking to CSR through how to solve your problem, and they say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't actually see that. That's not in my system. Is that the experience your customers are having? This is the beginning of your customer service, but there's so much more here. There's so much more that can be done. So if we look at employees, we have those people that are directly interfacing, whoever's talking to our customers directly when they are looking for service. How can they lower customer effort? It's by increasing their engagement, but it's not all in their hands. Now we get to the will I, and will I has to do with advanced training. This is things like communication, negotiation, emotional intelligence, understanding what's happening on the other side of the phone. Has my company given me what I need so that not only I can, but I have the desire to meet you where you are and provide you things that you didn't even know you needed. This forms the basis of how we see our customer service opportunity. But there's more. Our indirect employees, they also play a huge role in setting up customer service. If we build applications that are difficult to navigate, difficult to use, or in effect, that's going to increase the level of effort for our customer. And we know from the equation, we need to lower the level of customer effort as we increase the level of employee engagement. If I have engaged application developers, if I have engaged systems analysts, they are thinking in advance about what does my customer need and how can I meet those needs. So it becomes still an element of can I and will I. When we bring that together, now we're living in the customer service equation. Now we are changing the game. 73% of people would rather solve issues on their own. You proved that out when you laughed when I asked if you wanted to call an 800 number. This is reducing customer effort. 147%. That's how much better companies do when they have highly engaged employees. $75 billion was lost in 2017 alone due to poor customer service. This is why this matters. We've got to get customer effort down. We've got to get employee engagement up. The can I, the will I want to help meet your needs. It's going to change the nature of our business because none of us here are willing to accept anything less. First things first, where do you start with this? Matt and I have come up with 3 very simple steps. Discover. What we mean when we say this is we would recommend that each of you and folks in your organization go out and learn firsthand what is actually happening. How many of us have heard that it's a good idea to call our own 800 number? How many have done it? That's good. About 25% of the room's done it. Critically important. We have to understand what it's like to be a customer in our organization. Because if we don't know this, then we cannot begin to solve some of the issues that we could solve in our customer service. The other thing we need to discover is what is it like to be an employee and try to meet those customer service needs. Then, step 2, experience it. Because you can't just ask, you have to live it. We want you to actually experience it. Go sit in the chair and understand what's going on in your call center, for example, any place where there's actual customer service contact taking place, so that you can have a clearer idea of what really needs to be done. The final step is focus. Now take that information, those real questions you asked. How many of you have had your car serviced in the last couple of months? And as you were leaving, what do they say to you? You're going to get a survey, either in the mail or electronically. Anyone with me? And if you fill out anything less than a 10, it means I failed. What kind of data is that giving these people? It's certainly not telling them the truth, right? So now that we asked our real questions, we got real information, and we experienced it ourselves. We walked a mile in somebody else's shoes. Now we're going to focus that information, use principles like human-centered design, so that then we can design the experience that our customers are seeking ahead of where they are. And we can also design the experience for our employees to be able to deliver on that.
You're going to leave here all full of energy and with tons of great notes because we're incredible and you're super energized. And you're going to get bombarded with ideas from people, right? And it's important that we give you some kind of a measuring stick to figure out what's worthwhile to focus on. So there's going to be things that you hear that you're able to wrap and test around. Right? What are the things that I'm hearing that will actually go and affect my employee engagement? Ideas like go and talk and have focus groups with your frontline service personnel and find out what's screwed up upstream that's making their job more difficult and what's screwed up downstream that makes it so they can't commit to things for their customers. There's myriad of things like this. When we uncover them, that's good. Similarly, there's going to be the stuff that we can do that can reduce customer effort. This is finding those processes that are easy to automate. This is knowing our customers better so we know how to treat them. I'll give you an example. How many of us have gone and checked into a hotel on a business trip, and 5 minutes after arriving in the room, we get a really friendly phone call that says, hey, just checking in to make sure everything's going okay. Okay, that's really nice and kind, and I'm that customer, I like it. I'm the same guy shows up with my 2 kids after 3,000 miles in the car, and that phone call comes in the midst of chaos, and it's the worst experience I have. They make the phone call either way, right? Knowing me better, right, prevents the second one. It makes my life easier being at that place. That's service too. Those things are good. Then there's this honeypot stuff that's in the middle. These are the activities that you can undertake that will actually affect both of these things. This is going through and understanding the journey maps that customers have that end up leading to reactive service, identifying those things early enough that we can provide proactive service, and knowing our customer well enough to know whether I should do that in an automated fashion or with a live person. In your email following this session, you're going to get 2 documents from Kim and I. One are dozens and dozens of ideas on things that you can do to increase employee engagement and reduce customer effort across people, process, and technology. Second, these ideas are sometimes difficult to figure out how to get off the ground because they're new and unique to us. So we're also going to include a literal how to implement them guide that walks through basic agile principles and how to go and execute these things within your organization. We hope that these things are of benefit to you and that they expand the conversations that you're having within your organization.